Okay, so for the third time, or second time, I should say, we were asked the question of have you ingested any of the Universal Monster media, and you had said no. Um, and we were talking about the Universal Monster comics, um, and you had mentioned that you hadn't really ingested that kind of media because of it was mostly like autobiographies.
Yeah, for the most part. And because I'm looking for little hints and stories about Uncle Carl, about, the people who made those movies. And I am trying to get away with get away from this, but I think I try to be productive all the time, and it makes it hard to, I don't know, indulge in too much fiction reading.
Yeah, like I said, I think you may be interested in because we lost the recording. I think you would be really interested in Dracula, and as I tried to say, Mummy when it comes out. That basically acts as a prequel to the movie to the 1930 Boris Karloff film, and talks about Helen and her past lives and its connection to Emotep.
That does sound really interesting to me, so I'm going to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. So yeah. So our next question comes from Bill McLaughlin, who asks, "Did you ever see the set of the 1925 Phantom of the Opera?"
Yes. So that was on stage 28 at Universal, and it was standing all the way from 1925 all the way until 2014. So I got to visit it a couple times. The best time was that I got to go there with my Aunt Carla, who danced in the original 1925
That's
Phantom of the
amazing.
Opera. Yes, and we had a photographer there with us. We took some pictures. I got to just kind of explore the stage and go up, some of the stairs and sit in the little opera booths. And it was just incredible to be in this like historic soundstage. Unfortunately, my Aunt Carla, she lived to be 104 years old, which was amazing. And that it was, I think, that year when she was 104 years old that we went to visit the set. She passed away in June, and I think it was that September they tore down the entire soundstage. So I'm happy she wasn't around to see it get torn down, but it's not there anymore. I have heard rumors, I don't know if this is true or not, that at the Universal Unchained experience in Vegas, that they might be putting up some of that set or that sound
I have
stage.
heard that rumor too, but I've also heard it may be for the Chicago one, which I'm
Ah,
pick a lane, guys. I personally think it should be restored in a museum. Like, I feel like that whole set is too intrinsically tied to not just like Universal, but like films in general to be like part of like in a theme like in a. I think it needs to be preserved in a museum. That's what I'm trying to say.
I would love that. I think like the Academy Museum here in LA could do something really amazing with it. I'm just honestly happy to hear it still exists. I heard for the last decade now that it's in storage, but I never had any proof of that, so I never really believed it. But I guess now I've got faith again.
That's yeah. I've heard for the most part it was saved. It like the studio the stage itself is it was torn down, but the interior was recovered. But we don't.
Yes.
But and they always keep saying like, "Oh, we'll show it someday," and I'm like, "Okay, so it's been some days. How about now?"
I always say I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly. But I am glad that your great aunt got to see it one more time, and I actually did watch the video where she did the reciting of the first lines of the of Dracula.
Yes. Yeah. Among the rugged peaks that frown down upon the Borgo Pass are found crumbling castles of a bygone age, I think.
I think you got it. Yeah. So our next question comes from Bizarro Guy, who asks, "Out of all the canceled Universal monster films, which one do you wish got made and why?"
For so many years, I heard about a Bride of Frankenstein that was going to be starring Angelina Jolie. And I was always very excited for whatever that was going to be. So that might be one of my greatest recent disappointments. And I assume now that version at least is never going to happen.
No, it was
Um,
part of that whole dark universe thing from the Tom Cruise movie.
yeah, and I think at a certain point, like Del Toro's Frankenstein may have taken precedent even when they were sort of bringing the monsters back around.
Have you ever heard this like rumor? And I don't, and obviously I don't know, I don't think you can confirm or deny this. So, um, there was always this rumor that I had heard that Shape of Water, which was originally meant to be his Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, but Universal at the time said no, we're going to go in a different direction, and Del Toro went fine, I'll just go to Fox, and hence we got Shape of Water.
I I mean, I guess I don't totally know. I have heard that some of Del Toro's monster movies were supposed to be Universal monster movies. I really think that that 2017 Mummy just ruined a lot of things for a lot of people. Um,
It damaged a lot of but I will say this, that despite, and I have to hand it to Universal now, that like after that they could have buried the Universal monsters again, but no, they just decided, all right, try again. Um,
I think it's just lucky that The Invisible Man did so well. I think that without that, we wouldn't have moved on to, all of the other monster films. And it makes me nervous, right? Like we just had The Wolfman last year. It had some beautiful shots in it, but it wasn't necessarily the best movie. So I don't know. Every time these movies do well, I think Universal gives it another chance. Every time that they don't do well, I think they get buried. Like
I
it's nuts to me that Del Toro's Frankenstein and Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride, neither of them are Universal films.
which is I think is insane.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of hope for this Blumhouse Mummy film, this new Mummy film.
Oh, yes.
Um, I don't know what the story is going to be, but apparently, um, Universal has a lot of faith in this Mummy movie, which says a lot because you had a lot of faith in the other one. um, but I am excited. It's from a director who did a very good horror movie called Evil Dead Rise. Um, Lee Corin is a Irish horror director who has done a lot of independent, like I said, an Evil Dead movie. So I trust him on this matter. If he wasn't part of this, I don't think my hype would have been as high because Wolfman was a movie. Um,
My only concern about it being the Evil Dead Rise director is that not necessarily a concern, but it just makes me think that this mummy will be closer to like the 90s mummy versus the 30s mummy.
okay, that's a fair concern.
So, but I'm excited regardless.
Absolutely. So our next question comes from Cody Bradish, who asks, Carl Lemley didn't co-found Universal Studios until he was 45. Considering all the hardships, trials, and tribulations that he had to endure to get to that point, would you say his story is one of the most inspirational, if not the most inspirational in the world of cinema, but in general?
I mean, I absolutely look to him as an inspiration every day. Yeah, I think it's funny because I've read papers and things that he's written where he talks about as he was approaching the age of 40, he felt like that was the year that was going to prove whether he was, a man or whether he was just somebody, right?
Right.
And even back then they had that pressure, I guess, with approaching decades the way that we do today, that it's like you have to prove that you're making something of yourself. He was, I believe, 39 when he opened up his very first theater, which of course is what led to then the Lemley Film Service and Imp and eventually Universal. And that's when he as well was trying to figure out, does he just want to have a job or does he want to have a career? And he risked essentially his whole life's work, all of his life savings, his family, all of that to get into the film business. He used to talk a lot about his Lemley luck that carried him along the way. But I think that luck was a form of perseverance, was, sort of just learning everything about what he was doing, pouring his whole self into it, finding problems and opportunities and being that solution. And I think that's what allowed him to move step by step up to what became Universal. So, all of that to say, yes, I think that it's one of the most inspirational stories. I am always reminding myself as I start feeling like, I'm getting a little bit older. Maybe I should have accomplished more. Maybe I should have, and you have all those thoughts in your head. I always think that Carl didn't even have the sparkle of a glimmer of any idea that he was going to be in the film business one day when he was my age, and I still have plenty of time to figure it out. And that goes for all of us.
I think that that's some very true words right there. Um, the way I always hear about autobiographies and things about Carl Laemmle Sr. is when you really get down to it, like you said, it's the Laemmle luck, because how like historians describe Laemmle, it's almost like, wow, I can't believe that worked. I feel like that was Carl's whole, like Mr. Laemmle's whole mantra was, okay, that worked. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just finding problems. Like he opened his first theater. He had quit his job working in a clothing store in Wisconsin. He thought he was going to open up like a five and dime store. So he was looking for locations for his five and dime store. That's when he saw his first theater and decided that's what he was going to do. He invested all of his money into opening this theater in essentially a converted storefront. And then he kind of identifies this problem of, okay, I've got a theater, but I can't guarantee the quality of films coming to my theater. Sometimes I'm getting the same print as the guy next door. Sometimes I'm getting one that's like broken or torn or, isn't going to work. Sometimes it's the same movie I had last week. So he decides he's going to fix that problem, and he gets into film distribution. And then he knows he's always getting the best prints. Then from there, I think he starts running out of films, like to even distribute. So many people want movies, and there's just not enough to go around. So he says, all right, I'm just going to make the movies so that we have enough to go around, so that, then we know that we're getting the best. So everything was just filling that need. Then once he's making movies, that's when he's up against Thomas Edison and the Trust, which is keeping the industry down. They've got very strict rules about the types of movies you can make, how long they can be, the fees that you have to pay. And he's like, well, this isn't good for business. Let's fight against that. Make sure everybody has an opportunity to succeed. So everywhere along the way, he's identifying a problem and he's figuring out the way that he can be the solution.
That's, man, I'm shocked we haven't gotten a Laemmle biopic, honestly.
I agree. I'm working on it.
I like I do believe there is a Carl Laemmle statue still standing, because I live in Florida, in Orlando, like in near the Orlando area, I should say, and I've been to the park, and there, to my recollection, there is still a Carl Laemmle statue in the park, much like there is one in, I believe there still is one in L.A., in the L.A. park.
There, as far as I know, is not a Carl Laemmle statue
I thought
in Universal Studios Hollywood. If you see one in Orlando, if you wouldn't mind sending me a picture.
I will remind myself to do so, because I have like, there was this big tall statue, and it says Carl Laemmle, and it's right in outside of the New York area. I don't know if you've been to the Orlando park. You probably have. That's a dumb question.
No. What's so funny is, so as a little kid, I went to Universal Orlando, and then I went to the opening day of Islands of Adventure, which would have been 20 years ago or something. And then I went to the opening of Epic Universe in April or May. But that's it. I actually don't get to the Orlando Universal very much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, next time I am at Universal, I will find that statue, if it's still standing, snap you a picture and send it to you.
Thank you.
Um, which is kind of funny, because, and I know this isn't gonna mean bupkis to you, but I wanted to say this, because we're kind of running low on time, and I don't want to eat up too much of your time today, ma'am. I would love to say, on behalf of, myself and kind of my whole family, is that, your great uncle basically created something really intrinsically tied to my family. I mean, had I not watched the Universal monster movies at a young age, I probably wouldn't want to become a writer, or be interested in films as much as I am. And the studio, which I know you have no control over, my sister works at the parks. She works directly as a member of the staff in the Orlando area. And had it not been for the park, she wouldn't have met her boyfriend, and they wouldn't have a life together. And that all kind of all ties back to your family. So on behalf of my family, thank you, or should I say thank you, Mr. Laemmle, for basically making something that is kind of, um, been intrinsically tied with my family.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's so beautiful. I think that that is more than anything what Uncle Carl would be really proud of and excited by today. I know he saw Universal as a family business back in the day, and everybody, he treated everybody like family, and everybody called him Uncle Carl, even if they weren't related to him. And so, as much as I talk about him loving the movies and the franchises and the parks and all of these things that are an extension of his work, I think that that family feel is maybe the thing that he would love absolutely the most.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, but you know, I know it's dumb. I know it's absolutely dumb.
Not even one bit.
But thank you, your whole like thanks to your family, your family basically created a whole legacy. Because I don't think, had we not had Universal, we probably wouldn't have like Spielberg. We probably wouldn't have Amblin. We wouldn't. There would be so much of the movie industry that would feel like a chunk is gone. And I also feel like Thomas Edison would be running a lot of things, but that's beside the point. Um, yeah, I think that's everything. Um, Thank you so much for coming on here. Technical difficulties aside. Um,
No, thank you so much for having me.
and what day did you say the docu series was again?
Epic Ride will be out on Peacock November 17th. And I put out new videos on my channel every weekend. So this upcoming video will be the Old Dark House. And I've got videos in the works about The Cat and the Canary and Son of Frankenstein and House of Frankenstein. So check out Universally Me.
That's awesome. I'm curious. Like one more question because I just thought of it. Are you doing the 31-day movie challenge for this Halloween season?
I am not. I Because Halloween is sort of my quote unquote busy season of the
Oh,
year. I have conventions and events and podcasts and things every single day. I'm just not able to watch a movie every single day as much as I would absolutely love to. So I actually feel like I should choose a maybe like February should be my movie watching month every day.
14 days of films. That might be the.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good idea. I say this because
Gruesome love films, right?
tough love or love hurts.
Exactly.
Um, I say this because on my movie challenge list, one of the films I'm doing watching this season is The Black Cat.
Oh, so
It
good.
is it is so good.
So good.
So I thought it would be kind of remiss, and I'm actually like happy to hear that you're doing more than just the monsters because I'm like I think people forget there were other really good Universal monster movies pre Hays Code that Universal did.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say, I just watched The Old Dark House on a big screen out here in LA. There's an amazing old theater called the Old Town Music Hall that plays exclusively classic films. They have a Wurlitzer organ where they do sing alongs before. It really captures the spirit of old Hollywood and old films. And I just watched The Old Dark House there. Actually, I introduced it there just this past weekend and was reminded just what a perfect, beautiful, scary, funny, incredible film The Old Dark House is. So as much as I recommend The Black Cat, which I 100% do, I also recommend The Old Dark House.
Yeah, which I think you can find on YouTube. For it's I think yeah, it's on YouTube. I've seen it everywhere on there. I don't know why that one's in public domain, but the others aren't. But I think if you were to ever look at a film that encapsulates James Whale, I dare to say Old Dark House is like that and Bride of Frankenstein are like if
Yes,
you ever thought of what James Whale is like as a director, those two films.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So yeah, Miss Carlotta, thank you so much for coming on here and answering these questions. This was a amazing interview. I am still shell shocked that like you agreed to do this and still weathered the technical difficulty storm we had.
That's what makes it exciting. No, thank you so much for having me.
Well, yeah. So, everyone out there watching, go check out Miss Carlotta's YouTube channel and check out Universal Ride when it comes out. And other than that, I am Mr. Multiverse, and I will see you next time in the multiverse.